sometimes to achieve the things of good intention will have setbacks beyond your control. But we've done it.
We head further into the Britaniku National Park, towards the village of Frashëri. Well, we've been driving for about an hour through some wonderful scenery. And here where this spring is, marks the boundary, the beginning of the Britaniku National Park, the largest national park in Albania. And there's many little paths and hiking trails through the wonderful forests. We're not far from Frashëri now. This is a good place for me to freshen up after the long drive. Oh, that's wonderful. Cool mountain water. It's so fresh. Let's get on to the village. Beautiful. Bektashinjtë survived the persecutions of 1826 by laying low and most likely migrating to southern Albania, where Bektashinjtë was well established. The written Albanian language was still in its infancy and was outlawed by the Ottomans. The Bektashi played an important part in distributing these illegal books and also schooling in the Albanian language. And 3 of their students who grew up in this house in Frashëri went on to play key roles in the national awakening. Abdul, Naim and Sami Frashëri. Abdul, Naim and Sami learnt to read and write Albanian at their local teche. The written language was outlawed by the Ottomans. They had no desire to see the Albanians united again under one flag. It's a massive house. which just goes to show how important this family was in the area. It seems that not many of the exhibits have changed since communism, but I quite like that. And there's not much English, in fact, no English. It's all in Albanian. But all that will probably change in the next few years as the road that we came in is going to be updated and have a tarmac surface, bringing a lot more tourists to the area. There may be no explanation to this painting, but I presume it's of a meeting that was held here in this village of Abdul Frashëri, introducing the ideas of the League of Prizren, which was the codifying and the formalization of the national awakening that was a meeting in Prizren in present-day Kosovo. I presume it's here and not the League of Prizren because these men are wearing the fustanella, the traditional dress of the southern Albanians. This meeting was overseen by Baba Alush of Frashëri, and he is seated beside Abdul. So once again, I stand in front of these three great men. Naim Frashëri is considered the national poet of Albania. His writings of unity, freedom, and most of all tolerance are regarded highly amongst the Albanians. He's an unusual man, as he's one of the few writers in history who both understood the East and the West, ideas, belief, literature, and he merged that into his work. He was a bridge between the East and the West. Sami Frashëri wrote a book at the turn of the century, 1800s to the 1900s, called Albania, What It Was, What It Is, and What It Can Become. And this was the manifesto of the national awakening of the Albanians. And last, but certainly not least, is the eldest brother, Abdul. Abdul, he was a great statesman, a man with powerful words that could rally the people, not with hatred or violence, but with love, passion, and tolerance. But Abdul, with his three brothers and their compatriots, with their mix of Albanians, different religions, were able to unite and achieve what seemed to be impossible: national independence in 1912. The years surrounding Albania's independence of 1912 was marked with great turmoil as the Ottoman Empire completely collapsed. Albania's neighbours were keen to annex as much territory as possible, and in doing so targeted the Bektashi, burning their teches and even killing Babas because of their association with the Albanian national awakening. The teche at Frashëri was built in the early half of the 1800s. And although it's very isolated, it was a rich teche with many dervishes living here. It was destroyed during the Balkan Wars by Greek forces, but it did manage to avoid destruction from the communists in 1967, who obliterated many teches across southern Albania. And the reason why it avoided that destruction was because of its attachment to the Frashëri brothers. Even the communists made this a national monument. The Bektashi have endured centuries of persecution, but their most severe repression came under Albania's communist regime after the Second World War. Religious institutions were destroyed, Babas imprisoned or killed,
and by 1990 only 5 Babas and 1 dervish remained to rebuild this religious order. But revival is slow. By 2017, numbers had risen to just 9 Babas and 6 dervishes. Relentless persecution has left the order in a fragile position. For years, the Bektashi searched for a homeland, which they found, not in the soil beneath their feet, but in the tolerant hearts of the Albanian people.
Abdul and his 2 brothers were schooled here at this teche by Bektashi Babas, and their lessons reverberated in their writings of peace and interfaith relationships. It was these words and actions that transcended religious differences and established a common Albanian identity.
There they found a kindred spirit, a brotherhood, becoming the smallest of the nation's 4 recognised religions. Though few in number, their contribution to Albania's independence has been significant. In Albania, a land where churches and mosques share skylines and communities celebrate one another's holidays, the idea of embracing the youngest brother with a symbolic homeland feels not only possible, but natural. In offering the Bektashi a place of their own, Albanians are not only assisting a fellow tolerant faith, but honouring one that has contributed so much. It is an extension of the very spirit of coexistence that defines this country's identity.